Thanks for listening to Movie Geeks United. Hey,
hello. I don't know what I'm doing today.
What do we want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Atlanta Film Festival or headlines?
Why don't we talk about Milos Forman first? I think
that's the way to go. Yes.
Let's do Milos Forman.
Yes.
It was just announced that he passed away at the age of 87, I believe. And a few months ago, I had emailed for him, and I was told that he wasn't well. So I thought it might be imminent. But he was the man that made the movie that made me fall in love with movies.
That's a big statement.
That is.
Saw it when I was in 7th grade, and I was like, oh, there's more to movies than just like bullwhips and fedoras.
So we're talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even see a good copy of it. I taped it off of late night WG at Chicago with commercial breaks. I mean, when I finally saw an uncut version of it, I was like, wow. It's like, man, this really is a good movie.
Yeah, no, it is.
Well, you know, when I first saw it, I saw it at my parents took me to see it at the Lenox Square Theater when I was, when it came out. So I wasn't even 10 years old, and I just fell in love with it immediately. It shot into my top 10 list of at that young age, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Its drama just blows you away, and it's is still one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. And just the way it became part of your, I don't know about you guys, but whenever you'd have like a substitute teacher in high school or something, you'd always call her like Nurse Ratched or whatever. I'd do that, or you'd always refer to someone like you didn't like them as Nurse Ratched. I mean, it just became part of the lexicon. I mean.
Yeah,
it really did.
She's brilliant in the movie,
she is.
And the entire cast is really. Is there a bad performance in that movie? No, I mean even Dr. Spivey, who you've talked to, Jamie, that who's a real doctor and has one of the great scenes with Nicholson, checking him into the to the hospital and everything. It's just. Magnificent in it. It's just an amazing movie.
You know what happened to that hospital? The hospital was closed down for a little while because it was abandoned for a while. They found like a house of horrors from all the patients that were in that hospital. They saw like hundreds of jars of human flesh and all of this kind of stuff, and it was. I know. So they closed it down, and they made it partly. When they refurbished it, it's partly a Cuckoo's Nest museum now.
That would be very interesting to go to.
Yeah, it would be.
If you're ever in Oregon, and, how often are we in Oregon? I mean, why haven't we even thought of that?
Yeah, that would be an interesting trip. I do have to say something about Milos Forman, something a little bit bigger. I was reading on Hollywood Elsewhere, one of our favorite movie blogs, Jeffrey Wells confessed in a tribute to Foreman that, his most highly treasured film from him was not some of the films that we've mentioned, or Cuckoo's Nest, but instead was a much more maligned and probably lesser seen movie. So I was really surprised that I had to leave a comment. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read the comment and by way of that, talk about some of Foreman's other movies. It's not very long. Jeff, I love that you paid your ultimate tribute to the movie Hair, which I always felt was critically maligned for simply not being made in 1968. The fact is, it's a brilliantly realized, stunningly emotional film from Mr. Forman and his massive cast and crew. From its quietly rural and urbanely explosive opening, The Age of Aquarius, performed dynamically by Ren Woods in a dizzying, equally showy 360-degree camera pan, to the hilariously bawdy white boys / black boys led by Nell Carter and Ellen Foley. John Savage's amazingly moving Where Do I Go, set against a miraculously deserted and then instantly bustling Wall Street. Treat Williams' many exuberant numbers like I Got Life, performed on top of a table in a fancy house, and most especially Cheryl Barnes's stunningly emotional rendition of Easy to Be Hard after she's been bawled out by her wandering husband, played by Dorsey Wright, who's has abandoned her and their young son. In the long history of my movie watching career or avocation, if you will, upwards of over 25,000 titles, more if we're including shorts and TV films, there are only a few scenes nowadays that get me right in my copious gut every single time. For instance, the endings of E.T. or A Little Romance or It's a Wonderful Life, and probably the entirety of Ponette, the French film, as those movies always do the trick for me. But this scene gets me weeping copiously for a full 5 minutes because the song is so intrinsically moving, because Barnes is absolutely perfection in her short, closely watched performance, and because Forman's intense visual orchestration of the sequence, which is so simultaneously alienated and intensely intimate. I saw Hair on the big screen only once in Brooklyn at Park showing. You know, it was a huge screen and it was massively well attended. It really surprised me. And while I was weeping during Easy to Be Hard, I could hear a little kid close to me saying, "Mommy, that man is crying." Well, I was a mess, a joyous mess. I couldn't hide it. I never could, never will. The only scenes in Hair that cause me to bristle are the LSD-tinged wedding fantasy sequence, which I find embarrassingly hokey and clearly filmed by someone who'd never taken the substance, and the joyous Good Morning Starshine set in a rushing convertible full of hippies, because I sort of wince at the brash sort of Vegas-y arrangement overtaking Beverly D'Angelo's sweet vocals. I much prefer the Broadway version or even the top 40 hit by Oliver. But as with many scenes in Hair, most of Forman's other movies reduced me to overwhelmed tears. His top masterwork, which we agree on, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, of course, but also the unfairly treated Ragtime, which I guess won't get the director's cut it screams out for, and also Amadeus, which I love, but I feel a little worn out by. And you know, there's the satirical Taking Off, the Czech films, Loves of a Blonde and Fireman's Ball, and his last truly remarkable film, The People versus Larry Flint. I know some people like Man in the Moon, but I find that movie very flawed. As fantastic as all of these titles are, though, Hair is still, and always will be, closest to my heart. It's just magnificent, you know. So, R.I.P., Mr. Forman, and thank you.
Now, why would you leave something so heartfelt on a cynical bastard like Jeffrey Wells' website?
Oh, geez, I don't know. You know, trying to open the guy up a little bit, but you know.
Well, that was very nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
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 But yeah, it's a big loss. You know, he was one of the greats. So you know, geez,
Treat
I
Williams
can watch.
Spoke very well of him.
Oh yeah.
When I spoke to him, and that was a big break for him, was Hair. So between Milos Forman and Sidney Lumet, I mean, that was his career.
Oh yeah.
Treat Williams.
I mean, he had a little bit of a '90s surge there for a little while with things to do in Denver where you're dead.
That was supposed to be his comeback.
That's what I'm saying. They made him. They gave him a career like that.
I also love him in The Late Shift as Michael Ovitz. He's great in that.
No, he is. No, that's right. He's very good in that, actually.
Yes. So, but Milos was, boy, he was great. He was also not a bad actor too. You know, the one movie he did, Heartburn, you know, with Streep and Nicholson. Not a great movie, surprisingly, but he's very good in it, very memorable, and multi-talented, and it's too bad we didn't get a chance to speak to him for the audience. So, but
I tried many times over the years to get him, and I never could. I think the last movie he was able to make was this Natalie Portman movie that he did. Goya's Ghosts, or
I remember that. Yeah, I remember.
Oh yeah, about the painter, right?
And I remember Valmont had the bad fortune of being released really close to Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah, that's the one I still haven't seen both of those movies, Goya's Ghost and Valmont. So I guess I have some Milos Forman to catch up on, but all the rest of them, except for some of the very, very early features, and some of his shorts, of course, are I still haven't caught. So there's still some Foreman out there that I can be overwhelmed by again.